Oh, perhaps. It's hard to imagine, but that abbey was once a thriving bazaar, bustling with commerce and teeming with people. Nothing left but rot and overgrowth, and an abundance of dangerous beasts. Well, there is one thing that I hope remains from that time. The golden anvil that once graced Zenithar's abbey when it was still a place of wealth and commerce. It is a holy relic that was stolen and hidden away by avarice. I hope to learn its true whereabouts for the resolutes of Zenithar, my order. I did not expect quite so many deadly creatures nesting in the abbey when I set out. Otherwise, I would have enlisted fighters before departing. Priests of Zenithar are not known for their might, but we have deep pockets. Are you for hire? The golden anvil was hidden away by the bazaar's arbitrator, Gavos Duar. We should search the abbey and learn all we can from Gavos's fall. It may lead us to the anvil's ultimate resting place. The golden anvil was said to have once been unremarkable iron, worked tirelessly by a pious smith to build a simple trading post. Zenithar transformed the anvil to gold, blessed with divine prosperity for that honest labor. And the abbey was born. Most likely, it's well known that Gavos hid the anvil away before he was overthrown, but nothing seemed to indicate that it was removed from the abbey. With Zenithar's grace and some hard work, perhaps we'll have better luck finding it. As I've said, the abbey was once a great bazaar, but that alone didn't make it special. Here, people of all kinds exchanged not just objects, but ideas, pieces of their culture. They saw the foreign as something to be valued. Sadly, it didn't last. Those who valued coin more than commerce infested it, until their greed utterly corrupted Zenithar's abbey. Gavos Duar and his ilk destroyed this wonderful place with their avarice. Not even the anvil was enough for him, it seems. As arbitrator of the bazaar, he was responsible for the peacekeeping forces. Gavos and his soldiers were the only ones permitted to be armed, in the interest of preventing violent disputes. It didn't take long for him to abuse that power. The rumors claimed that he used his office to enrich himself and drove this place to ruin through tax, tariff, and embezzlement. Gavos was overthrown eventually, but the anvil was never recovered, and neither was the prosperity it provided. You are not familiar with the resolutes of Zenithar? We are keepers of the resolutions, the temples of the divine provider. We offer succor and instruction to those who provide honest labor or wealth. Those who follow our teachings prosper. The foundations of civilization and prosperity, labor, commerce, and exchange. Zenithar smiles upon those who work for themselves and others. Through fair and honest trade, we better the world. The teachings show how best to conduct business. So much rot and squalor. Will any record of Gavos, or the some of the buildings and stalls seem intact? Let's start there. That confirms that Gavo stole the golden anvil away. But the history of this abbey and its fall into ruin remain clouded in mystery. All I know for certain is that the golden anvil was never recovered. We should search for surviving records from Gavos's time. Some trail to follow, however waterlogged. The bazaar, of course. But this abbey also had a thriving port. And despite its size, if you wish to conduct business in secret, like plot to overthrow a tyrant, you would need to do it somewhere secluded, like the outer grounds. These merchant lords may be the last people to see Gavos alive, but did they find the anvil? Gavos must not have been popular if even his own soldiers turned on him. Let me see those documents for a moment. These confirm that Arbitrator Gavos hid the anvil, but not where. There was a rebellion led by the trade ministers that even Gavos's guards sided with, and he locked himself in the Abbey's adytum. I think that's very likely. An adytum is a sacred place within a temple. Only the clergy are permitted within. It would have been within the arbitrator's authority to keep it locked and guarded, even from the trade ministers. His personal sanctuary. So it would seem. If the adytum remains sealed, we'll need the 3 sigils mentioned here to open it. They were last in the possession of the Abbey's 3 trade ministers that we know of. We should search their holdings. Many of these bazaars had a directory to allow patrons to find goods and shops. We should see if we can find mention of the 3 trade ministers, Ralos, Quentin, or Esdir. That should give us an idea where each of them did business. Powerful merchant clergy who organized the trades of the Abbey's bazaar. They were the ones who led the Abbey to great prosperity before Gavos seized power. A good question. Perhaps the cost of that victory was too high, or Gavos's desecration was too great for Zenithar to forgive. If anyone was to have kept records of what actually transpired, it would be the trade ministers. The letters mentioned the 3 trade ministers. Now that we have the directory, it should lead us right to their holdings. soldiers were bribed? After all that talk about righteous rebellion, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That directory should lead us to the holdings of the 3 prominent trade ministers. We'll need their sigils to open the sealed addendum. Of course, this toil is ours to share. What is it you'd like help with? It seems as though the new arbitrator was pressuring Rallos for bribes. His mention of the phrase, "under the setting sun," seemed to spook Rallos. That must be a clue pointing to his hiding place. But I wouldn't take it literally. It must be a landmark. Trade Minister Esdir trafficked in skooma. No wonder Zenithar abandoned them. So they knew where Gavos had the anvil. They just wanted the opportunity to steal it for their own gain, instead of returning it to the people. That directory should lead us to the holdings of the 3 prominent trade ministers. We'll need their sigils to open the sealed addendum. Of course, this toil is ours to share. What is it you'd like help with? He never got the opportunity to send it, it seems. He doesn't say as much, but this meeting spot he suggests to his contact might also be where he hid his sigil for safekeeping. Behind the forging fires could mean the smithy. Couldn't hurt to check. Obviously, somewhere with a fair vantage and out of the way. It's a hiding spot, after all. It might be close to a brewer or importer, though, just not likely where the usual clientele would drink. The directory might help point the way. There must have been little trust between the trade ministers for them all to have hidden their sigil keys from each other. That's all 3 sigils. We can unseal the adytum. It will be within the Abbey's temple. There! That should be the Abbey's adytum. It worked! The adytum is unsealed! Let's not waste another moment. Is that... No. This can't be the Golden Anvil, can it?
It was abandoned to the hardships of time, as I was. But the anvil's sparkle began to fade well before the Abbey's fall. I should have worked harder.
It can't be. Are you... Kavos Duar? It's been nearly... How are you alive? This is all too much. Talk to Gavos, please. I must attend to the holy relic.
It seems I've finally paid my penance to Zenithar for letting this glorious place crumble. Oh, so many years alone. But I never gave up. Honest toil. Zenithar provides to those who work, just as the seal kept out the war that raged between the trade ministers. The cracks let in the rain, and the roach, and the rays of the sun. These were my wages for care of the anvil, and prayer. I barely recognize it myself. Pitted and corroded beyond repair. I did my best to preserve it, not nearly enough. Its glow began to fade as the Abbey became corrupted by avarice, opulence, and depravity. So, I hid it away before anyone took notice. I know. I had no defense against their wealth and their poisoned words. The harder I fought to curb their ambitions, the more I became their common enemy. Once I was gone, though, they were free to fight among themselves. They tore this place apart.
I can still feel Zenithar's presence here, however faint. All is not lost. For what it's worth, I believe Gavos speaks the truth. I can see great care has been taken for this anvil, in spite of the toll of years and the corruption of the Abbey. Zenithar has not fully abandoned this house. Almost. The golden anvil hangs on by a thread, thanks to Gavos' care. But it will fade completely if Zenithar's faith in us is not renewed. There is hope, both for the anvil and, Zen willing, the Abbey. Zenithar is the divine of honest work and just rewards. You have labored tirelessly on the behalf of his faithful. The first pure, unsullied toil this place has seen in ages. Let us dedicate our compact in the name of Zenithar, in his holy house. No, only hard work can return the anvil and the Abbey to glory. But Zenithar may see that this place is worthy of redemption and renew his blessing upon them. Will you make this offering with me? Blessed Zenithar, I bring you this laborer whose calloused hands do your blessed work. Please, lay your hand upon the anvil. By these hands and this coin, an honest day's work is done in your name. May it be the first of many to come. Trade be. Oh, the anvil! Zen's light shines brightly once more.
Trade be. My work here is finally done. Now, all I ask for in return is to see the open sky.
You have earned that much and more. I'll get the door for you.
It's good to feel the sun through more than a crack in the roof. I could savor it for hours, but Zenithar would think me indolent. Oh, I'm no one. I was the arbitrator of Zenithar's Abbey long, long ago. It was my duty to resolve disputes and ensure the safety of the bazaar. I failed, and so this place lies in ruin. But if others wish to learn from my mistakes, I'll oblige. There were good people here. I was the one who was supposed to protect them from the unscrupulous few, but I wasn't wise enough to outwit them. If I'd had more to offer than platitudes, perhaps the others would have stood by me. Only Zenithar knows. It was just returning to what it once was. A simple source of labor for the blacksmith who founded the Abbey. Legend held that Zenithar's blessing transformed it. Well before my time. When I became arbitrator, it was already radiant, one of a kind. I suspect as greed took hold of the bazaar, Zenithar lost his faith in us. I hid it away, so as not to cause panic, but I think that may have been my greatest mistake. He was trying to show his disapproval, and I silenced it. That was my crime.
You have been a great boon to the resolutions of Zenithar. I could not have found the Golden Anvil without you, let alone save it from its ignominious fate. I'll inform my order, and through our efforts, perhaps they'll be able to restore this abbey to glory. Regardless, Zenithar leaves no debts, and you more than earned your due. Take this blessed coin with all my thanks. Even now, Zenithar is teaching me. I came seeking his blessings of wealth, and instead I find a life he spared from the sickness of greed. The true divine wealth we discovered here is that old man, I'm certain. I didn't seek out the Golden Anvil for its material worth. I was in search of something touched by the divine. To have endured so long in that tiny prison, he must truly have communed with Zenithar during his captivity. What else would you call it? He stayed true to the teachings, and carried the resolve of Zenithar in his heart to endure, even as everything around him crumbled to dust. Faith like that is worth far more than gold. We can learn much from Gavos. If the Primate agrees, he might very well become one. Miracles aside, Arbitrator Gavos is a wealth of knowledge long thought lost, and he has witnessed firsthand how even a holy temple of Zenithar can become corrupted by avarice. Lessons to remember. Without you, the Abbey's downfall would remain a cautionary tale with all the wrong lessons, and poor Gavos its villain. Zenithar shone a light on the truth through you, laborer. Your works honor us both. I'd like you to accompany me to the resolutions of Zenithar, Gavos. Your story is one we should all hear.
If this old man still has use left in him, it's Zenithar's to command.
Even now, Zenithar is teaching me. I came seeking his blessings of wealth, and instead I find a life he spared from the sickness of greed. The true divine wealth we discovered here is that old man, I'm certain.
I knew I would be free one day. Zenithar exacts his price, but never more than what is owed. With his forgiveness, perhaps now I can earn a modest living for the twilight of my years.